Hi. Time has come now to start clearing the borders to put your summer plants in, your tender annuals and things like dahlias, fuchsias and other plants. This is the border, and as you can see there is very little space in the border at all, but some of them I will take out and some I will leave. These are the Aquilegias. These are plants that stay in all year round. What I normally do is, these are the seed heads on the top. I allow some of them to ripen, and as the time goes on they get thicker and then they ripen. I cut off some of the stems, but I leave a few, and you can just sprinkle them in the garden wherever you want them. Perennial wallflowers there, and I also like to grow forget-me-nots. At this time of the year they get very leggy, and you sometimes feel there's a few bits of colour left there, but really it's time to get rid of most of them. I shall leave those few there and just come up this end here where they really are not worth saving and just pull them out. But I don't save the seed, I just sprinkle them where they are, and then hopefully next year, well, through the summer and the autumn, they spread all the way through the border, and all you need to do then is to pull out the ones you don't want, and then you've got your forget-me-nots for next year. So just tidy them up, pull them all the way through, and you'll begin to see you'll have some space left there for other plants. Well, gives a bit of extra room. This is yellow alyssum. It's normally grown in rockeries, but I don't have a rockery, so I grow it in the garden. But it's finished flowering, so generally I just cut off all the dead finished flowering bits on the top, and you can sprinkle the seed if they've gone to seed, but if not, just dispose of those. This one here is one of the heathers. Erica's very pretty in the springtime, but again it's getting too large, so I shall just prune some of this, and I look underneath and I take them from underneath rather than just, and if you keep doing that, as you see, when they fall it doesn't look as if you've taken any of it. I shall do all of this later on, it's just too much to go through on the video, but I shall do all of these and I shall show you the results later on. As we come up, some of the daisies, Hesperus there, or sweet rocket, again you can sprinkle the seed this time of the year anywhere in the border and they come up next year. So easy way of having some colour in your garden. Get a bit of the forget-me-nots which I've just got over. They're easy to pull out, shake them off, and then you've got your space then to plant something else. These were the hellebores I told you about, I showed you earlier on in the season, and they now have gone to seed, and you don't need to have all of them. You can just shoot a few heads, pulling all this out from underneath there. And as you can see, some of them don't have very much at all in the way of seed heads. Others have quite a few seed heads on them. So if you want to save those, what you have to do is to wait for them to go brown. And I've got some here which I'm actually going to plant as well. So you can see they go from, where are we, that to that, and to find out if they're ripe, if you squeeze them like that, you'll see these little black seeds come out, and then you do that. Some of them will be too small, that's too small, but if you do that with all of your little seed heads, or you can allow them to do it themselves. This is what happens if you let them seed in the garden. They all spring open and the little seeds fall out. But with that you have no knowledge of where they're going to be, and you could be digging them in. What I do is I save the seeds, just a couple there. I will go around saving more, but I sprinkle them into a container, could be a small one, and then cover them with gravel once you've got enough in them, and you leave them. You don't water them, you don't do anything, you just put them in a spare space in the garden in the shade, and then they will grow next year. And these are some that were planted last year, and as you can see, quite a few in there. You won't know what colour they're going to be. They could be any colour because they cross-pollinate, but at least you've got quite a lot of seedlings to go on there. And then the plant itself is too big, so I would cut all of this. All of these I'll cut out because I don't need them. but also there's too many leaves. So I go down to the base of them, right down to the base, into there, and cut some of them, not all of them, but any that are just going to fill up too much of an area. I quite like the leaves anyway, they add a bit of texture to the garden. But if you do that all the way along, just taking out a few, because you do need to have some leaves left for the summertime, for the winter as well. But if you keep going around like that, just taking a few away, I'm going to leave it. I will do a little more later on, but I shall just probably leave that clump there, which is giving me then a fair bit of space underneath. So I'll be able to put my annuals in there, and then they'll sort of fill up the space. As you can see from here, I don't mind where things seed. These are foxgloves. They're hiding this lovely daisy in the middle there, Agaranthamum. But when they finish flowering, I shall just cut them down, and then I'll have that for the rest of the summer. And that's the way I like to garden. I just let them seed wherever they want to. Because this is in the front of the border and it's a bit of a mess, I shall just take off some of these leaves at the bottom just to tidy it up. On my previous video I showed you how I cleared some of the spaces for new plants to go in. Well, I've actually finished all the spaces and I've now been doing the planting. But as I mentioned, any new plants you put out should be hardened off before you do it. Whether they bought from a garden centre or from your plants, your own homegrown plants. The way I do it is I cover them with a fleece. You can see the fleece over the top of them there. And it doesn't matter where you put them as long as they're in an area. In the daytime they're open, at night you cover them with a fleece. But it's so easy to just take the fleece off in the morning and then you've got your plants there. You do this for about a week or two, even though the weather's been really warm. But if you don't, it tends to set the plants back a bit, and they sometimes colour changes a little, they get much darker. But as you can see, for the rest of the garden I have cleared spaces, not a lot, but as summer goes on there'll be a lot more plants to cut back. I managed to fill in some of the annuals here and bits in the back. But it's an ongoing job at this time of the year, and probably until about the end of May or middle of June I shall be planting more plants and putting more annuals in, such as dahlias and other plants that need to go in for the summertime. So these are just some things you can do now, and hopefully that will help.